Within the making of both my ancillary task and our final group film, I made sure that I used audience feedback as a major influencing factor in order to make all three tasks the best that they could be. I did this because during AS level media studies, I found that I didn't create much audience feedback, and therefore when coming to create a poster and film review, etc., I found it difficult to kind of find out and figure out what worked and what didn't work without my own personal opinions of it. So therefore, due to this, I made sure that I did as much audience feedback as possible in order to get the best results for all my tasks that were also going to be pleasing for my audience, who I feel do actually play the dominant role in success for our film and all my ancillary tasks also. With my poster, I created 2 rough drafts of the kind of layout and general look that I wanted them to have. But when asking my fellow peers and family members what they thought of the 2 rough drafts I'd made, they went on to tell me they felt they were not particularly eye-catching and didn't look kind of particularly professional as that of a real live film poster. So this kind of like spurred me on to research further into all genres of film posters and all the different fonts, layout, textual information that they used on their posters, which I then used to give me a better understanding of what I needed to add to my poster for my final one, as well as change to make it look kind of more clean cut and professional. Following this, I was then left with the creation of 2 new posters which I made on Photoshop. And I was kind of left unsure of which one I would choose for my final poster. So I created both a landscape poster and a portrait poster, as I felt that when researching films such as Brick, I noticed that they used many different layouts of posters, which I feel worked really well and were particularly effective. So therefore decided to kind of create a similar effect by having similar layouts of kind of similar pictures on posters, but then using different layouts of like portrait and landscape, or maybe using a slightly different photograph. So when creating mine, I used the same text, all the same information on both posters, but when it came to it, I used pictures that were slightly different, very similar but slightly different, and kind of similar lighting. But I just basically just set the actual like layout, the landscape and portrait side of it was different, but I think it kind of worked quite well. So when deciding out these 2 posters, what one I choose for my final one, generally speaking, people said that they kind of preferred the portrait poster more, as I felt the photograph itself and the lighting on it was much more effective, and the text as well that was on it, and the text that was on the poster itself actually gelled really well and flowed more continuously together than that of the landscape poster. As I said, the landscape one was more kind of spaced out, and there was lots of like kind of slack spaces and gaps, whereas in the portrait picture poster there was more, it was all kind of together and it was very neat and well put together. So I've kind of decided, therefore, after all this audience research and information that I received, it helped me reach the decision of what poster I would out of the 2 that I would use my final one, which was actually the portrait poster. I think this was actually, my final decision was helped a lot by both the positive and negative feedback that I received from the audience, and actually helped me to decide the final factors of the poster and what I would keep the same, and then what I would choose to then enhance and change as I was advised on by this feedback. People said that for my rough draft of my kind of final poster, it was good, but the colour scheme on it, the red and the white, was good, but some parts perhaps needed to be changed, like the writing I had underneath this is about who produced and distributed the film. I first had in red. When I got feedback, they said maybe put it in white because it kind of detracts from the actual name of the film itself. So I made sure that I changed it, and afterwards I actually realised that that did make a lot more sense. By having the title of the film along kind of near the bottom, it also didn't take too much away from the picture of the poster itself, which I think worked really well, because the main thing you want to see is the title and the people who are involved in the characters. So I think by looking at the characters first and then reading the title, it made a lot more sense, kind of brought more of the narrative out within the film that they could expect. The positive feedback was that the lighting within the picture was really good, the shadowing on their faces worked really well, and the use of the quotes that I had on the side from the Daily Mail and Empire Online helped it kind of be more believable as an actual real life film poster. So I made sure that kind of enhanced these and made them bold. They stood out on the poster itself. And then once our film was almost finished, we decided to get a few people together to watch our film as it was, not completely finished, and get some feedback on what they felt we could change to better our film and what they liked or did not like about it. So therefore we held a small viewing in the Mac room when we were editing, and we got about 4 or 5 friends up there to come and watch our film as it was, without having completed, just to get their general thoughts of what they liked and what they thought about it. So overall, generally speaking, people were actually really impressed with it as it was, and they didn't have much to say about what we could change and what we could improve on, but they had a few suggestions that kind of made sense when we're looking back on it, such as so then after this we then went back to our film and went back and changed all these areas that people kind of said could work better if changed and enhanced more. So then for the first point about the flashback, we decided to add in a crossfade between the scene of Jake being in school and then walking to Scarlett's house, which actually I think really did help to kind of not only split the scenes up and make it look as though time had passed, but also kind of help you to realise that we're moving from a different location. And then in the final scene when we see Scarlett coming through the door, we lighten this up on the Mac by upping the contrast levels and then matching this with the brightness levels, so that it was kind of, although it wasn't perfect, it was better because it wasn't so dark and you could actually see like her hand more and surroundings that she's looking at from her point of view. And then finally, following their last comment about the music, we decided to completely erase the muffling kind of windy noise that was in the back, because it wasn't a particularly pleasant noise to be hearing, and also it kind of detracted from this suspense and tension that we were trying to build. So instead of having this sound, we added in a song called Chained by the XX, which actually we think kind of helped really well, and it kind of detracted from the sound we had before, which we got rid of, and made the scene more dramatic as it went on, and actually reflected the mood and emotions that were meant to be seen within the film.
What have you done? Just leave me alone at school. I can't talk to you anymore, I'm really sorry.
I haven't done anything. Scarlett, wait, I haven't done anything! Scarlett!
But overall, we did actually receive a lot of positive feedback from this point. As people said that we had a really, really good range of camera movements and angles and shots, and that they felt the storyline was easily understandable and flowed throughout, which is actually a really good thing, because we wanted to make sure that the storyline was believable and actually they could understand and kind of grasp the concept of it without being too confused. So overall, I feel that the viewing of our rough cut of our film actually helped us a lot to change the areas that we needed improving, and once we've made those changes, kind of actually helped us to realise the importance of attention to detailing. So I was really grateful for the feedback that we received, and I feel it made our film a lot stronger. After the viewing of the rough cut of our film, we then decided it would be a good idea to hold a final screening of our film, when we completely finished it, and making all the recommended adjustments, and finishing all the scenes that were needed to. So as a group, we then sent a message out on Facebook to a large group of people between the ages of 16 to 18, just asking them to come along to a free classroom at school that we were going to be held the next day, and basically come and watch our film and give us some feedback on what they thought about it, and if we did need to change anything, we could have the kind of time to do it. We had a lot of response from the majority of people saying that they would come and see the film, and we were really pleased about that, which kind of left us just to ensure that everything would be okay for the final screening the next day. And so when the time came to view our film, we got Toby to bring in his laptop, so we could put the memory stick that was holding our film in there, so we could project it onto a bigger screen so it could be seen more clearly, and more people could go and kind of get more into it, as it's kind of more cinematic experience. But we had a problem because Toby's film, because Toby's laptop was a Apple Mac computer. He didn't have Movie Maker or Real Player on his laptop, which is what we needed to play our film. So we then asked to borrow one of the teachers' laptops, and we went on this also, but they didn't have the thing that we needed to play it on the screen. So what we had to do is we just had to put it back on to Toby's laptop and watch it through QuickTime, QuickTime. So we just had to have, as you can see in the pictures that I want to show in a minute, people who's kind of huddled around, like looking onto a laptop, just watching it on the big screen, and then we showed a separate group of people the film again on the laptop so they could see it more clearly. But although this was a problem, it wasn't too. The people who came to see our film weren't particularly fussed. They said it didn't matter because they still got the impact they needed to watch the film, and they said they really still enjoyed it, so it wasn't that much of a problem, so it's okay. But aside from that, when we asked them to watch our film, we wrote down a variety of different questions involving the effectiveness of the lighting, the camera shots and editing, etc. within the film, and then we asked the viewers if they could perhaps write down on a bit of paper these answers to these questions, or if not, just write down 3 things that they did and did not like about the film. This audience feedback was actually really, really useful, I think, because we received a lot of positive comments, such as we also received some fair point and negative comments, such as there was a couple of continuity issues. The colour was kind of grainy at times, and at the end it was too dark, which made it kind of difficult to see. But I think it's a very fair point. See, there's things that we knew that we kind of probably would need to change, but see if we could get away with it almost. Following all of this audience feedback, we then decided to go back to the Mac room one final time and make all the possible changes that we needed to be done following the feedback that we received, in which were the areas that we needed to improve and to better our film. But for the viewing and the feedback that we received was actually key for us to kind of make our film perfect and exactly how we needed it to be, as we took on board all of the negative and the positive comments, and we went into the Mac room and enhanced and changed elements to make this fit in better with the film and hopefully improve the critique that we got, and make these areas better, to make the audience feedback more positive and to better the parts that they felt weren't as good or weren't as strong as others. Once we did this, we felt the film was ready to be put on YouTube, following all the adjustments we'd made. So we created another group message on Facebook and sent it out to more of our friends, and we kind of just asked them to once again say 3 things they didn't or did not like, or what they felt worked well and what they felt didn't. And here are some of the findings that we got from that feedback. overall, I think that the comments that we got were actually really fair, and generally speaking, the reviews we got were actually really positive, and people were really, really nice about the film. They said that they really enjoyed it, and the storyline they felt was good, the use of camera lights, the lighting, etc. So I was really happy with that. But I think overall, if we were to do the film again, obviously, if given a longer period of time to make it, it would have been a lot easier for us to kind of go back and reshoot things that we felt we needed to redo, such as maybe the ending. We could have had, rather than just using the television light that we had, which was the redness from the film we were showing, we perhaps could have had like maybe torches like underneath the sofa to kind of brighten the light without making it too obvious, so you could just see more clearly what was going on. The colour wouldn't be so grainy as well. But generally speaking, I think with the time period given, I think our film actually turned out really well, and we managed to incorporate a lot of different range of like camera movements and angles and different locations and kind of props and costumes. And I think the acting we had also worked really well, so I think we chose the right people. But if we were to do it again, I think just perhaps maybe be more attentive when we're actually filming and pick up on things as we're doing it, rather than, I think this happened quite a lot, we'd film a scene that we worked so well and we were really pleased, and we'd watch it back the next day or later on and we'd be like, oh no, we forgot to do something. Like for example, in the pub scene, we filmed something but we realised the whole way through that we had lots of continuity issues within the, like we'd be talking on one point on one person's face, and then when we turn it around we'd then pick it up again, but they'd say something slightly different, so we need to make sure they said exactly the same thing each time. But I think that's due to kind of our inexperience in the area of kind of scripting and writing. But I think if we can do that again, we prepare a proper script and we'd make sure we stuck to it each time without changing it. But overall, I'm really pleased with all our ancillary tasks, all my ancillary tasks, and our final main tasks. I feel it worked really well. They link all so well together, which I'm really pleased about. And overall, I feel that the audience feedback had a major starring role in impacting all of my tasks. And I feel that without the positive and negative feedback that I received, I would not have been able to get the great results I feel I've got from all of my 3 tasks. And I feel that I would not have been able to achieve without any of this feedback. So I'm really kind of grateful for everyone who played a part in helping me better myself and my work with the feedback that I received for all things.